Back in 2012, a routine lab report turned Dr. Maya Patel's world on its head. The PET scan glowed like a neon sign, revealing a tumor guzzling glucose at a pace that matched the brain's own draw. Secrets tucked into your grocery aisle are quietly fueling your cancer. Maya Patel, the surgeon, fixed her gaze on the picture, heart pounding, and asked herself how a plain slice of white bread might be an unheard accomplice. She recalled that morning's breakfast spread: two toasted bagels, a honey drizzle, and a latte sweetened with syrup. By lunchtime, the very glucose that had juiced her coffee was pouring into the tumor's vessels, sparking a chain of growth. The scan did more than outline a lump. It suggested a covert alliance between everyday carbs and malignant cells. The following day, a panicked call from a New York colleague buzzed in. "Maya, have you read Seyfried's newest paper? He claims glucose is the tumor's top fuel." Those words lingered in the hallway, feeling like both a challenge and a warning rolled together. Could your daily meals be sabotaging your health? The kitchen lights flickered while Maya paced, the fridge's hum echoing the thrum of a tumor's metabolism. She remembered a 2015 conference hall where Thomas Seyfried displayed mouse data indicating that a ketogenic diet, low carbs, high fats, starved tumors of their main energy source. The crowd murmured, half skeptical, half intrigued. She recalled the 2019 study unveiling a fasting mimicking diet, a brief protocol that briefly lowered blood glucose and insulin, then saw improved chemotherapy tolerance and fewer side effects. The promise felt real, yet the question lingered: could everyday grocery picks mimic that effect? The grocery aisle unfolded before her like a battlefield. Shelves overflowed with sugary cereals, fruit-flavored yogurts, and processed snacks, each a possible covert weapon. Just one 12-ounce soda can pack more than 30 grams of sugar, enough to jack up insulin, and per the National Cancer Institute, raise cancer risk. National Cancer Institute, Dietary Factors and Cancer Risk. Maya's thoughts jumped to the American Cancer Society's guidelines, urging a diet packed with vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and lean proteins, and cutting added sugars. American Cancer Society Nutrition and Physical Activity. The contrast was stark: everyday aisle fare versus evidence-based tips meant to curb tumor growth. She pictured a microscopic battlefield: cancer cells sporting mutated mitochondria, leaning heavily on glycolysis, a pathway that loves glucose. Seyfried's 2012 metabolic model shows the tumor's hunger for glucose outstripping normal cells, forming a metabolic sink that draws sugar from the blood. Seyfried, 2012. That model recasts cancer from a genetic rogue to a metabolic disease, hinting that diet might be a frontline defense. The stakes climbed with each thought. If everyday meals could tip the metabolic scales toward tumor growth, the grocery list itself turns into a weapon of mass destruction. Yet most shoppers stroll past the hidden danger, not realizing each sweetened cereal box might be feeding the very disease they wish to dodge. Maya's phone buzzed once more. A lab research assistant sent a preprint showing mice on a ketogenic regimen cut 30% of tumor volume versus controls on a standard high-carb diet. Seyfried and Shelton, 2015. The data sparked a flash of hope. Maybe a strategic diet shift could blunt tumor growth in humans too. She remembered the striking sight of a mouse tumor shrinking under the microscope, a visual metaphor for what might occur inside a patient if glucose intake were cut. That question now echoed in her mind, no longer academic. It felt personal, urgent, immediate. The clock kept ticking. Within one afternoon, the story of a surgeon's ordinary breakfast morphed into a high-stakes probe of hidden metabolic weapons hiding in grocery aisles. The answer didn't rest on a single study. It emerged from converging research that consistently showed glucose is a primary fuel for many cancers. Seyfried, 2012. Maya realized she needed to dig deeper, tracing the path from sugary snack to tumor metabolism, to see if everyday diet could be reshaped to starve cancer instead of feeding it. Her trek would wind through clinical trials, animal models, and fresh dietary guidelines, each bit of evidence a stepping stone toward a new view of cancer prevention. If the foods on your plate can power a tumor, what does that mean for the meals you choose tomorrow? I'm a science journalist who spent the past decade covering metabolic research and its disease implications. Seyfried's metabolic theory recasts cancer as an energy dysregulation disease, arguing that glucose fuels tumor growth and that dietary tweaks can shift disease trajectory. Seyfried, 2012. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Always consult a qualified health professional before making any dietary changes. You know, glucose isn't just energy, it's the very air cancer cells breathe. Every cell in your body's wired to grab it from the bloodstream, but cancer cells, they've hacked that system. Decades of science, starting with Otto Warburg's groundbreaking work, show these cells don't play by the rules. Instead of letting mitochondria do their thing and fully burning glucose, tumors flip the switch. They churn most of it into lactate even when oxygen is everywhere. That's the Warburg effect in action: rapid, sloppy energy production that floods the system with raw materials for wild cell growth. Nucleic acids, lipids, proteins, all the building blocks tumors need to go rogue. So why does this even matter? Because glucose itself is the bottleneck. When you eat, your blood sugar spikes in tumors. They're first in line, stealing that glucose out from under normal cells. Hard numbers back this up. Aggressive cancers often chug glucose at rates that make healthy tissue look lazy. It's a metabolic addiction, and the scary part, we can weaponize this weakness. Thomas Seyfried flipped the cancer conversation on its head with his metabolic theory. In that 2012 review, he made a bold claim. Cancer isn't just about messed up genes, it's a metabolic crisis fueled by too much glucose and glutamine. Cut those fuels off, you slow the whole machine down. Seyfried proved it in rodents. Low-carb diets shrank tumors, while carb-heavy meals made them balloon faster. Source: Seyfried 2012, Cancer as a Metabolic Disease. Then came the 2015 mouse study Seyfried and Shelton cooked up. They fed one group a high-fat, near-zero-carb keto diet and watched tumors crawl to a halt compared to mice on standard chow. Source: Seyfried and Shelton 2015, The Effect of a Ketogenic Diet on Tumor Growth in Mice. PET scans lit up with glucose uptake in the control mice while the keto group stayed dark. Survival rates followed the same pattern. And here's the kicker: cutting calories without cutting carbs didn't move the needle. Glucose, it turned out, was the real villain. Human data's messier, sure, but the pattern holds. The National Cancer Institute crunched the numbers and found sugar-heavy diets tied to higher risks for colorectal, breast, and pancreatic cancers. Source: NCI, Dietary Factors and Cancer Risk. The American Cancer Society basically says the same thing in their guidelines: lay off the added sugars and refined grains if you want to stack the odds against cancer. Source: ACS, Nutrition and Physical Activity. Put it all together and the message is loud and clear. The carbs you eat don't just sit there. They're fertilizer for tumor fires. So where's all this sneaky sugar hiding? Start with your bread basket. A single slice of white bread, 12 to 15 grams of carbs, most of it quick-burning starch. Pair it with turkey and cheese and suddenly that sandwich feels balanced, but your bloodstream doesn't care. It's still getting a steady glucose drip all afternoon and tumors are lining up to drink it. Sauces are even sneakier. Pasta sauce, barbecue glaze, salad dressings, many pack added sugars to balance the tang. 2 tablespoons of ketchup, roughly 5 grams of sugar. Use it on burgers, dip fries, drizzle on eggs, and suddenly you've chugged the equivalent of a mini soda without even realizing it. Combine that with other carb bombs and boom, a post-meal glucose tsunami that tumors absolutely love. Processed snacks, they're engineered to hit the glucose sweet spot. Crackers, chips, flavored popcorn, refined wheat or cornstarch is their base, designed to vanish on your tongue. Even low-fat versions often swap fat for sugar to keep things tasting good, and those snacks dump 20+ grams of carbs straight into your system. To a tumor, that's basically liquid glucose, just as potent as a can of soda. Here's the kicker: normal cells don't mind the glucose slowdown. Healthy tissue can switch to burning fat or ketones when carbs are scarce. Tumors, they're stuck, they can't pivot. That's why every carb spike, whether it's a soda or a harmless slice of bread, is like throwing gasoline on a fire. Cut the steady drip and you're not starving anything, you're just starving the cancer. And get this, fasting might help tip the scales. Longo's team showed that a fasting mimicking diet, short bursts of extreme low-carb intake, can protect healthy cells while making tumors more vulnerable to chemo. Source: Longo et al. 2019, fasting mimicking diet promotes regeneration and reduces side effects of chemotherapy. It's not a cure, but it's proof that even brief metabolic shifts can tilt the playing field. So what's the takeaway? Glucose isn't just a passenger in cancer's rise, it's a key driver. The Warburg effect explains the why. Seyfried's mice show the how by limiting glucose. Population studies link the dots between carbs and higher cancer odds. And those innocent carbs hiding in daily foods, they're the delivery system. So for you, the move is simple: know where the glucose is coming from. That plain slice of bread, same glucose load as a sugary drink. That spoonful of barbecue sauce, tiny but multiplied across every meal. Swap it out, try almond flour bread or big leaf wraps. Space out carbs, add protein or healthy fats to blunt the spike. It's not about deprivation, it's about outsmarting the system. Next up, we're going practical. We'll walk through real plate swaps, no gimmicks, just the metabolic playbook we've unpacked here. Tweak your eating and you tweak the biology fueling cancer. It's not prevention, it's proactive control. The shot dissolves from a close-up of a sugar cube melting in water into a split screen, one plate piled high with processed junk, the other stocked with whole food goodness. Host VO. What if I told you the stuff you chow down on every single day is quietly feeding cancer? Bold white text pops up: covert glucose reservoirs. Host VO. These aren't some exotic poisons, they're everyday staples, things most of us grab without a second thought. Host VO. But the science now shows they act like hidden gasoline for tumors. A nutrition label comes into focus, highlighting added sugars and refined starches. Host VO. Let's kick off with the top 5. Numbered list appears. 1. Processed white bread. 2. Sweetened yogurts. 3. Breakfast cereals. 4. Packaged pastries. 5. Sweetened beverages. Host VO. Source: The National Cancer Institute warns that refined carbohydrates and added sugars spike blood glucose faster than pure table sugar fuel tumors thrive on. Source: National Cancer Institute. Dietary factors and cancer risk. Overview of evidence linking sugar intake to increased cancer incidence. Animation shows glucose molecules racing into a tumor cell. Host VO. But here's the twist: these foods aren't just empty calories. They're covert glucose reservoirs, easy energy snacks that cancer cells hijack to grow and spread. A red warning icon flashes beside each item. Host VO. And the worst part, most people eat them multiple times a day. A kitchen counter comes into view, spotlighting a cereal box, a yogurt cup, and a soda can. Host VO. So what if we cut them out? Cut to a 2019 study in Nature Medicine. A team led by Walter Longo tested a fasting mimicking diet on cancer patients. Host VO. For 5 days, participants sipped plant-based soups, broths, and teas, barely any calories and virtually no sugar. The result: tumor progression slowed, immune function improved, side effects from chemotherapy dropped. Source: Longo VD et al. 2019. Fasting mimicking diet promotes regeneration and reduces side effects of chemotherapy. Nature Medicine 25 1369 1380. Side by side, a patient's scan before and after, tumor markers reduced. Host VO. This wasn't a miracle, it was biology. Host appears on camera, locking eyes with the viewer. Host VO. Cancer cells can't adapt to low glucose the way healthy cells do. When you starve the tumor, you starve its growth. Animation shows a tumor cell shrinking as glucose levels drop. Host VO. But fasting isn't the only lever. Text overlay reads, ketogenic diet, a fuel switch. Host VO. In 2015, researchers fed mice with aggressive tumors a ketogenic diet, high-fat, low-carb. Tumor growth stalled, survival doubled. Source: Seyfried T. Shelton L. 2015. The effect of a ketogenic diet on tumor growth in mice. Cancer Research 75 10 2075 2084. Lab mice in cages, then a graph tracking tumor size over time. Host VO. The science is clear: cut the glucose spikes, cut the tumor fuel. A grocery cart is emptied of processed snacks. Host VO. So what does this mean for you? Bold text flashes, your move. Host VO. It doesn't mean you've got to ditch bread or yogurt forever. It means swapping smarter. Host holds up a loaf of whole grain bread and a cup of unsweetened almond yogurt. Host VO. Choose sourdough over white bread. Opt for plain Greek yogurt with berries instead of sweetened cups. Swap soda for sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon. A family gathers around a kitchen island, prepping a meal with whole foods laid out. Host VO. And think about fasting not as deprivation but as a strategic reset. Text appears: fasting mimicking diet 5 days per month can enhance treatment response. Host VO. Small changes, big impact. Host returns on screen, tone turning more urgent. Host VO. You're not just eating for today, you're cutting off the enemy's supply line. The camera pulls back to reveal a table set with whole foods, veg, nuts, olive oil. Host VO. And that's power you already hold in your hands. Cutting out those sneaky carbs that quietly feed tumor cells isn't a trend, it's a straight-up hit on the metabolic engine cancer relies on. When sugar and refined starches surge into your blood, they spike insulin and power the Warburg effect, the exact pathway Seyfried points to as the backbone of cancer metabolism. Source: Denying those fuels pushes tumors to hunt for other energy sources, which slows their growth and boosts your body's natural defenses. Step 1. Turn yourself into a label sleuth. Look at any packaged food, its nutrition facts shows total carbohydrate and added sugars. The bigger those numbers, the more you're likely feeding the disease. When you spot hidden names like maltodextrin, high fructose corn syrup, or D-glucose, ditch that product and reach for a whole food instead. Next up, build your plates around low-carb, nutrient-dense choices. Think non-starchy veggies, solid proteins, good fats, and a modest handful of berries or nuts for taste. Prep ahead: batch-cook cauliflower rice, spiralized zucchini, or pre-slice avocado to dodge the urge for a sugary bite when hunger hits. A weekly shopping list built on those picks cuts accidental carb overload and keeps your kitchen on track with a cancer-fighting game plan. Intermittent fasting, IF, gives you a strong metabolic reboot without overhauling your whole diet. Research indicates brief fasting bouts kick off fasting mimicking pathways, sparking cellular repair and making chemo easier to handle. Source: a straightforward 16-hour daily window, dinner at 7 p.m., breakfast at 11 a.m. Lets insulin drop, glycogen run low, and your body flip to ketone production, a fuel most cancers can't efficiently burn. If a longer fast feels scary, begin with a 12-hour window and lengthen it step by step. The proof is plain. National health bodies tie high sugar intake to higher cancer rates source, and the American Cancer Society recommends cutting added sugars, staying active, and eating balanced meals to prevent cancer source. When you take charge of your diet, you're not merely trimming calories, you're starving cancer of its favorite fuel. All right, let's put that knowledge into action. Snag the free cancer-fighting grocery guide below, print it out and stick it on your fridge. Use it as a checklist at the store and watch those hidden carbs vanish from your cart. If this video nudged your mindset, smash like, tap subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a life-saving strategy. Your health, your choices, your future. Let's rewrite the story side by side.